Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 27th of July to the 3rd of August. Probably another short digest this time, and that's okay. Well, you know, we're thinking things. We're making moves. We're thinking of adjusting things coming up, because there's a certain anniversary coming up soon. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about some video that I thought was not good. I don't know about that, man. And, well, you know, who would have guessed it? Explanation point. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Hate to do it to you again. Encanto is bad, not MP4. Of course I'm not going to like this video because it's just kind of blanketly hating on this title or whatever. And unless there's like kind of a nuance to it or a thoughtful dissection or an approach that's interesting, it can come off. It can get real bad. It can just be like, this is useless, my guy. And so I have not seen Encanto, so I'm not coming at it from a place like I disagree with you. I'm more of just like the approach is so and not what I like seeing from him in particular. I just remember how he starts this video is, I'm a professional media critic. And it's like, don't start your video like that, dude. Like, like I get maybe you're like your longtime viewers and stuff. That's something you say all the time, and that's fine. It's just like, especially when you're talking about something that's kind of new to your channel. Like, I think it feels like the first time you've talked about a Disney property, you know, and you're just gonna start it with this. All right. And it's not even that and the thing is too, is that you're kind of taking quite the contrarian, not intentionally contrarian, but just like inherently contrarian position. Encanto's a pretty well liked film. You know, some people might not be crazy about it, but it doesn't have a divisiveness to it that I think some other Disney films have garnered in the past. At least from my perception of it. I am not too deep into Disney stuff. But you know what this does remind me of is when I was used to into Disney stuff a little bit more, I guess. I remember this video reminds me of a past version of myself where I went to see Frozen when it came out in 2013, and I was a freshman in college, and I was so irritated by it, especially since like a lot of people seem to like it a lot. And you're and the same thing with you here, where you're saying how you're just baffled that people like this movie, and you seek out what people like analysis videos, and it's like, it's not there. It's no, it's bad. And it's like, all right. And just like starting your reasoning with like, there's 5 songs, 4 of them are trash. It's like, okay, great. I don't know. If you felt the need to like vent about this thing, then that's one thing, I guess. But it just felt like you framed this with the desire and the frustrating need to feel right. And I remember like I was possessed by a similar feeling when I had seen Frozen, and some friends of mine IRL probably remember me being completely insufferable the months after that movie came out. It's such a bone to pick. God, I hated it. But like, it was very irrational and ultimately kind of didn't lead to anything, and nothing substantial at least. I don't feel like this sort of analysis that you're doing here is ultimately very substantive or valuable to anybody. It's interesting, you know, to me, I was like, oh, it's fortunate the dislike bar is hidden this time. Because I don't know how many, I don't know how well the reception's going, because I'm looking at the comments, and all of the highest voted comments are like, no, dude, or I disagree with your points here, and things like that. So it doesn't seem like you're convincing anybody, you know? And look, it's fine to have this disagreement about this movie or something like that, but like, I don't know, it just kind of came from like a random place, and just very negative, obviously, but just sort of in a way that doesn't feel entertaining or substantive, and like, it felt like you were really frustrated by it in a way that I don't think is healthy to put out in a video like this that's going to kind of stay on the internet. You know what I mean? I just didn't get good juju from it. So yeah, not very good, I don't think. All right, well, instead, let me talk about some videos I thought were decent. Well, not instead, but, you know. Things I thought were pretty good. And this first one's ForgottenRelics. I've been getting recommended this channel like crazy lately. And he's had a very good output lately, too. He's like kind of on a roll putting these vids out. This one's One Piece animation original versus remake, comparing the original scene of when Arlong attacks and Luffy does that final move against him and breaks the whole building down. The depiction of it in the original TV series versus like I guess like a TV special that they did, like the Saga of East Blue, and they kind of reanimated it and stuff. And that one has a very famous animator on One Piece, like in terms of every time One Piece has gotten crazy with the animation, it's really always been this one guy, it seems, at least as a viewer who's watching through it right now. Every wacky, crazy Sakuga looking thing is similar looking, very distinct, and it's from this particular animator. And I really like Relic's overall analysis of the two, and being very shot by shot, technical terms, and understanding where they're coming from lineage wise, and the in-house studio that was responsible for this episode did others with Dragon Ball and things like that. Very good analysis. Really good substance here. The style, I just can't. I think my patrons mentioned it too. Like it's probably not what Shaves wants. Because I watched this video twice, and I can't get over both times the one shot where he uses like a stock image of a bunch of thumbs up and it's like rotating on a 3D axis. I'm like, what is this, 2012? Like what? And I don't know. It kind of bothered me, and not in a way that whatever, dude, right? It's just, yeah. And then like the music, I was noticing the second time around, like the music just kind of plays one track after the other, and he's still he's just talking through his analysis, not like in a paced, segmented way, in a way that the music is orchestrating anything. It just plays to the end of the track and then just starts the next track, and it's just like, okay. I don't know. It's a nitpick, obviously, I guess, but it's just something that like, it's the attention to detail in the video craft itself that doesn't make it all the most compelling for me. I also just think with this approach, there was something about like analyzing the first scene and talking about it in all the detail and everything, and then when he gets to the second one, then he's comparing it to the first one and doing a bunch of back and forth. I feel like that was kind of repetitive, and I don't know, just repetitive, I guess. And then the second half wasn't as compelling as the first half, to me. And I would think that like, if you do something like this, you're making a comparison thing. I think if you made it so that like you had the comparison kind of stretched all the way through, but then maybe it wouldn't have gone over 10 minutes, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe you include a longer scene or a different scene, maybe. I don't know. But it is interesting that he gets these particular animators that he knows a lot about, and like it's kind of a relatively well-known scene, and both of them are very well done, and he has very good nuance. Again, I have no qualms about the substance at all. It's very interesting, good stuff. It's just the craft that I'm just not all that excited about personally. It's whatever, I guess. Totally Not Mark bouncing back with The Day Dragon Ball Died. I wasn't a big fan of his Death Note video, but I do really like this Dragon Ball one. Mostly. I think that the concept and the through line in which this goes is great. His argument for why, not to TLDR the video for you, the Day Dragon Ball Died is when it ends in Shonen Jump, and Toriyama is no longer intimately involved, and that he's not writing it every single week, which with the particular change that he cites as like, here's the thing that makes a big difference, because Toriyama is still involved in the scripting process and the characters and everything like that. The specificness is having to do with the battles not having an incorporation of story along with it. He's noticing how subsequent entries like the movies, Broly, Super, it's all front-loaded with story, and then it's to the last possible moment, basically, when the fight happens. And then once it's the fight, it's just kind of fighting and a bunch of punching and like flashy action. And that's great. And he's not knocking it. He caveats a lot in this video. Like all the time he's like, that's not a bad thing. And he's trying to quell the fans who are enjoying the current material. But he's just trying to give an explanation without trying to sound hipstery or like the new stuff isn't as good or whatever. And he's like, I like that he's like, let's take away the narrative beats and trying to forget the argument of like, because you could argue the day Dragon Ball died is, like Frieza, or like the end of the Namek saga, because that's where Toriyama originally wanted to end it, shit like that. Instead of taking from the narrative stuff and whether we personally like things or whether we've been personally invested or not, he takes it from an external perspective, and I like that term for it. I just found that the video presentation itself, I guess, and his means of communicating this is a little clunky. I can't give you real specifics about it, but it was like he was leading in a lot, and he has to caveat himself like every single domino he sets up. He has to be like, no, like listen, and he has to like defend his title of his video. Yeah, it is kind of a hyperbolic title, but it's the title that will do attention. It's what YouTube wants, and it sucks that like he has to kind of name it that way and then defend it, and it's frustrating, I guess. But the overall idea of how, like, sorry to get to it, but I think that the real interesting part, and again, I feel like he kind of trips and stumbles a bit in explaining this, in my opinion, and it's not until a little ways in where, oh, I kind of get what you mean. So what he means with the battles, Toriyama's not involved with the battles, and it's a front-loaded the story. Whereas when Toriyama was writing it in Shonen Jump, he had to do both of them simultaneously. He had to have cool action, as well as having these interesting narrative beats within the action itself. When you have a fight in original Dragon Ball or Z, the story is happening at the same time as the fighting. And he's observing that in the subsequent materials, Super, GT, all that, probably, I don't even know if he mentions GT, maybe it's like a weird zone kind of deal. But like all the like canon subsequent material is very front-loaded with the story. And then he has a very good example where he shows the script. I don't know where he got this, but he has the script for Battle of Gods, and Toriyama writes, and then a big battle happens. And then Toriyama says, like, I will leave it to the animators to do that. Haha. Like, sorry, just do your best. Just have a big battle. He doesn't get involved with the battle stuff. He leaves the animators to do that. I was kind of hoping I like that point that Mark is bringing up, because like I agree. I think those are what the more compelling, what makes the battles in Dragon Ball compelling are those narrative beats throughout the fight and the things that they're talking about and the dramatic elements in the fight. Like no dramatic elements are happening within the fight itself besides like, oh, we countered him or something, like within the tangible fight, I guess. Where was I going with that? But yeah, but like I like that example, but sorry, yeah. I like that example, and I think I would have wished that it went one step further, where you can be arguing like, so okay, maybe speculate a little bit. Why did Toriyama choose to do this? Why is he suddenly not interested in doing the action scenes anymore? He was really good at it. He's no slave. I mean, that was what brought his manga to critical acclaim ultimately, is the martial arts stuff. And that was him figuring that stuff out. And I was thinking about how, like, what if it was the case, and I'm not too into Dragon Ball scholarship, as weird as that sounds, but the intimate with this series, I'm not familiar with the comparison with the anime and the manga. When like Z was coming out, or even earlier maybe in Dragon Ball, was there an instance, kind of like with Naruto, where the fight was embellished and given more to kind of, flesh out the episode some more? And was that the case in Dragon Ball, where they kind of have anime original fight choreography and they kind of embellish the fighting? And perhaps did Toriyama see that and admire it to the point where they're like, oh, they're way better at this fighting stuff than I am. I'll just leave it to them. Do you think that I'm wondering if that's the case? I was just left a little more questions. I just wanted it to be kind of followed through a little bit more. That's what I'm thinking about now, because it's like, I like that idea that because Toriyama stopped writing it for Weekly Shonen Jump, he kind of relinquished doing the fights and just kind of changed his writing style almost, where he's more interested in the character dynamics and the actual story and themes and whatever. And all that substance, but the fighting is sort of a vehicle to getting to that, and he doesn't necessarily want to be involved with that anymore. And I want to see more evidence for that, I guess, and maybe even look into the types of fighting that he would create versus the types of fighting you see in this anime original stuff like Broly and Super. Not that Super is anime original, I don't think. That's another interesting thing, right? Because like Super is also like the manga is like this too, apparently. I just want to see more detail in this. I think this is an interesting avenue to explore. It's also interesting that he didn't mention Shonen Jump in particular, because that publication is the means of which that was the environment he was in that forced him to do that and created that those circumstances. And now that Toriyama is free of that circumstance, how is that positively or negatively influenced the series? It's interesting to think about. I just think so. I love the ideas and stuff. I just don't think it was fully presented, and presented in kind of a clumsy way almost. I can't think of like specific lines or anything like that, but it kind of, I felt like I had to think about it without him telling me. I couldn't follow it the same way. I had to think for myself almost, which, you know, isn't the most effective in my opinion with a video. But yeah, I like the video otherwise. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, animebackwhen, the Boondocks in 20 minutes. I'm happy to see him expand into other forms of animation like this, and to hear him talk about Boondocks. I have not seen much Boondocks. I've obviously kind of been, you know, culturally familiar with it, you know, seen it around and everything. But I loved hearing about the nuance with the 4 seasons. I had no idea that there was a difference in quality like that. That's kind of seemed consensus almost. And I liked him talking about the differences with the 4 of them. Although I felt it was a little uneven, where he would go episode by episode up to like 5 or 6 episodes of the first season. And I kind of liked that because it was, you know, that was unique and thorough in a way that you would want a YouTube video to go. But then he kind of drops that idea and he's like, I don't really want to do that for 50 episodes. And I'm like, fair, especially when he has kind of a sentence or less than a sentence to say about them. I totally get that. But yeah, I liked it. There isn't much else to say about it. I think that when he drops that part and kind of flows into talking more about it, I feel like it gets a little redundant and circular almost, and kind of having the similar things to say, I guess. He doesn't focus in on particular ideas or subjects. What he does more is like focus into specific episodes, which I think was interesting. I really liked the kind of like understanding of the production history behind this, of it starting as a comic, and, you know, learning about it in that sense, and the animation studios that were responsible for it. I think he did a really good job. Again, I think it's a little train of thought almost, like kind of, what am I going to write about next? Oh, let's do this one. And it wasn't as much of a overall structure, like here's where I'm going to start, here's where I'm going to go, here's the end point. It kind of felt like it kept going and going, and that's fine. I think he's able to carry himself personably in a video that, like, it doesn't feel like a slog or something. But I think if he had more of an arc, more of a just like, here's where I want to go with it, here's where I want to start, here's where I want to finish, giving that structure, I think it could have helped it a bit more. But yeah, I enjoyed the video though. It was really cool. The Real Ams with my top 10 shoujo anime and manga. It was interesting that he kind of like didn't have enough for like anime, and had to, I think it was only one. Is it just the detective one that was a manga only? I think so. I think he read Glass Mask, so he's not necessarily counting the anime in that instance. But yeah, it's 10, you know, and describing them kind of a mix of footage, but mostly being on camera, which I think he has a pretty good on camera presence. I think. I think the difficulty with this one was he structured this with the top 10 going from his favorite number 1 all the way down to number 10. And at first, I find that kind of refreshing and different, you know, because most people go from 10 to 1. And so it kind of gives a boost of excitement to the beginning of the video where you're talking about your favorite, which is always the most engaging and exciting. However, it ends up making it so that, like, the engagement, and I don't try to make it like a YouTube expert or something, but I imagine the retention ends up being a lot lower. And I kind of felt myself checking out a little bit more as it went on, because because since they're ranked lower, you kind of have to. I'm already under the impression you don't like these as much, so they kind of feel like leftovers almost. So it's not a build up in like a video. Like there's a start of the video and you want to build up to the end. It's the start of the kind of the best part, and then it's dwindling and it's like and finally number 10 is I like this one the 10th best. Ending the video on that isn't the strongest step forward. But again, I like the experimentation of switching it from 10 to 1, like most top 10s, I think. But upon reflection and experience with it, there is a reason they go from 10 to 1, I think. It ends up kind of like giving a sense of anticipation and building on top of each other of which one's better than this one, better than this one, better than this one. Whereas like this current one is like, this one's the best one, not so much this 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 one. And it's like, yeah, okay. It ends up kind of a weird dynamic almost. But yeah, I like the variety here, despite being all from shoujo and stuff. But in terms of the swath you have, the spread's good, and the things you talk about each one is engaging. It was just like as it went on, it was less and less engaging, I guess. But yeah, sorry, it was a big critique, I guess, on that one. But yeah, I think I did enjoy it. Of course, it was just that was something to think about. I was like, that's why you don't do that. Okay. And now I thought of the best videos of the week. The ones where they're pretty wild on that one. And one of them was the best videos of the week. And this first one, it's a bit of a shout out. I can't fully say that I've watched the whole thing because it's 6 hours. Woo! Higurashi Go and Sotsu post-mortem from Bess. I was wondering where Bess was. And I should have figured this, that she was working on a response to the latest Higurashi thing, as Higurashi's her whole thing, really. But of course, it's 6 hours. Holy I'm just shocked and impressed as hell. Man, wow. But so I didn't watch the whole thing. What I did was I was like, okay, I can't watch this whole thing, especially because I haven't seen a thing of Higurashi. Not a thing. I don't know if I could do this. So, but I want to appreciate it because it's a remarkable achievement, right? And I want to gauge quality because big beasts like this, they're a whole different thing. So I wanted to check out how it was. I decided to watch up to 1:40 of roughly, which was the first. They're labeled by arc, which are very particular. Sorry, they're very particular. Sato Koashi, yeah. I watched up that whole section. And so what I saw was pretty good. And I really like that, I was able to follow it despite not having seen any Higurashi, because it's a very beat by beat recap almost, and analysis, of course. And it's reminding me a lot of what I'm currently doing with this last section of my Naruto video, where I'm breaking down Naruto and Sasuke's rivalry, but I'm really just focusing on their fights. Like their first fight on the hospital roof, their big fight at the Valley of the End, which I finished closely analyzing. And that one, having finished and I've written that one, this reminded me a lot of what I just wrote in terms of going scene for scene, extracting meaning out of everything that's going on pretty much. But Bess is able to kind of substanize that. I don't know if that's a word. Embellish that, I guess, with interviews with the author, where it's supposed to be going, the execution of those events. And I like that she mentions that it's less the physical things that I have problems with. I'm fine with what goes on. The events that happen make sense, but the execution of those let us see her isolated, and there's certain things that are not filling in the gaps adequately is what the core problems seem to be. And I really like that Bess is able to keep a cool head through this whole thing, and it doesn't feel but I think that's only because this section that she's talking about doesn't seem to be the one where it's going off the rails. It did get it at first when the anime is depicting Satoko. God, I listened to 1:40 of this, and I still it's just about Rika and Sadako. I have a feeling that I'm not getting that right. Sorry. Frick. I was right. It is Sadako. Okay. Sorry. But I really like the nuance here with, like, I really like your appraisal of, like, the ED's really, really good. The OP's one of the best I've ever seen. And there's certain things that there's a balance to this. And it's not a whole rejection of the thing, despite where it seems like it's the latter part where it ends up going when Sadako turns into a witch and is like, oh, we're not going to get that? All right. Oh, we're not going to... Okay. Yeah, it logically clicks when you present it this way, because you're showing how into and detailed you've been with this franchise and how much you care about it and theorizing it every single week and really paying close attention, and then not getting that thing that you're being rewarded for in other places, in other adaptations. Like a good chunk of this first section was going into the manga's version, which I guess is like only so far adapted or translated or even published. I don't remember the preciseness of it, but like you were like contrasting it, like this is actually much better over here, but you really went just from like the anime for that whole part up to that point in the story, and then all of the manga and that approach. And it did sound like the manga had a better approach, although I will say there was just something about your way of editing manga, or just this manga type of thing in general. Something about it is harder to engage with, I guess, harder to follow. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. It's a visual thing. But it was something where it's like it got a bit overly long for me in that part, because you're going chapter by chapter, and again, that kind of detailing it in really close detail, and then an overall analysis, fitting in the quotes, and even some personal stories, which I really liked, that personal insight and perspective, and then just kind of some scientific studies of particular the brain stuff and development and things like that, and trauma, the effect of trauma on young girls and stuff like that. That's all really great stuff. And it's just, it's kind of similar to animebackwhen's, where it feels like the train is the episodes, and you're just kind of like placing the tracks as it goes along, and it's like here's the analysis, and kind of like you're taking a tour through this series with Bess, and through this analysis and the amount that she's able to add context and analysis and other things and everything. And again, it's presented in a very cool, like low-key, sensible and like followable type of thing. And I do think I could watch all 6 hours of this without even having seen anything. This is, and that's a real testament to the amount of detail you're able to put in and articulating these things in a tangible way. I thought it was very, very impressive. Again, sorry I can't watch the whole thing. I'm sure there's other twists and interesting places you go to, maybe other places where you get a little more heated, or really interesting things about it and stuff. But yeah, this is unbelievable, and it's me thinking about my 3-hour Naruto video. I'll never finish it. Seeing you finish this, it's like, man, damn it. I have no excuse. So yeah, it's frustrating, but in a good way. But yeah, congratulations on finishing this gigantic project. Real testament to your talent and ability as a YouTuber here. Yeah, it's really good shit. I just wanted to give props to BobSamurai again. I like doing this every so often, because man, he's so good at this shit. I mean, God. Yeah, so he's did a Gao Gaigar, and I was thinking at first, like, oh, I'll watch it because I'm curious, and I've been watching all of his videos on the Brave series. I've been pretty much watching all of his videos, pretty much, actually, because the stuff he's talking about with the 60s anime and things like that is so great. And I was like, oh, I'll wait for his Better Man and his Brave series overview to kind of give full props and commendations and everything like that in Digest itself. But no, I really wanted to talk about this one just because I think he was able to balance because he's able to really defend himself in terms, because I had heard about his things about Gao Gaigar, and it's like, why does anyone think that you should watch Gao Gaigar first? And he has a bit of a contrarian opinion almost, because everyone just loves the piss out of this show. And this felt like the first time I was able to get a clear view of what the show really is without like a fanboy's perspective, but also not in a contrarian way. He actually was able to cite specifically why people love this show so much, and the faults that the pitfalls it has, the kind of pockets of places that like it doesn't make it perfect, as the title says, almost perfect. And it was it was really communicated in a way that was very effective, and that was like, yeah, that makes sense. Oh my god, I could totally believe it without having to go in any detail, like non-spoilery, because it's 7 minutes. So really he's able to just deliver all this stuff in a convincing way without really having to explain stuff, which is so ballsy to me, because I'm just like, I have to make sure everything's explained and like articulated in a way. And I always felt that like in the means of articulating it, I actually realize it better myself through doing it, that I'm not as much writing this much about Naruto for other people to understand. Like, they need to know. These people need to understand. I'm not even doing that for that, really. I'm doing it as an exercise for myself to kind of like articulate it in a way that's like, why do I like this so much? And thinking about it, rewatching it, writing through it, and trying to create a through line in that way. And it's like, oh, that's why I like, or that's why it didn't work. And going into that amount of detail is kind of why precisely that's the case. But here it's sort of, it's incredibly utilitarian. It's incredibly just like, here's what you need to know, and this sort of like incredibly like tight, efficient, it just doesn't happen on YouTube, I don't think. I just think it's so, I don't know. He's not even thinking of it in an entertainment factor. Like, I enjoy listening to his perspective and stuff, but he's not even throwing that many in the ways of like jokes, or because he's his delivery is always so straight shooting and plain, I guess. I don't know. It just sort of just like neutral. I don't know. It's just in a way that just like like even when he has like a snarky remark or something, it feels like third person almost. Just kind of feels like I can't. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like a baseball announcer, like a radio. Like, I just saw a clip or whatever of like this very old, like the guy who used to forgot his name, but he used to announce for the Dodgers, and he retired in like 2016, and he was like 87 when he retired. And I was seeing a clip of him just like telling like a story or an analogy as he's announcing the game, and just like the flat and kind of like, but yet very compelling, like the precise choice of words, and it just works, man. It just fucking works, and he's so talented at this. And but also just like a fucking workhorse. He's like, sorry for the lack. I also wanted to talk about this video in particular just to admire the ending of it, which is just kind of housekeeping, and which you normally it's like whatever. But like his housekeeping here is like, sorry for the lack of uploads. I've been finishing these other 60s, and I've realized I need to do more individual reviews for and I'm just like, let's go, dude. Like, I don't know, I just really admired it. And just like, here's the next thing I'm working on, and stay tuned for my review of Better Man. And I don't know, it just like, it's so dope, and it's like feels old school almost. I don't know, it makes sense because Bob is kind of from the old school almost. But man, and I've probably said this like 4 different times throughout other digests and stuff. But I just really admired it, and love watching every one of his videos. Easily becoming, not even becoming, like he has been, but there was that dip of just like he didn't do a whole lot and everything. But it's new era, you know what I mean? And it's just like the current thing I'm just enjoying for what we got. However long this goes, I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba. Yeah, it's awesome. Dong Chang with an IRL video. Let's go! Cowboy answers your questions about the Japanese animation industry. And it just comes out of nowhere. Just very sort of different from his tone, I guess. But then you go into it, and it is still him. It is still him kind of honestly answering questions in a very articulate, straight shooting, emphatic manner. I guess the words, I guess. But yeah, like I like the questions he selected. He doesn't even give any context of or like points it to the fact that he's doing this IRL in a cowboy outfit, which look like very natural clothes. Actually, he kind of rocks the look. He's not trying to cosplay or something. It actually looks pretty. He's like, yeah, this is normally what I wear on a daily basis. He owns it. But then just like choosing different locations, and you can tell that like they're on like a walk, and he has like a camera guy, and they're on like a walk, and they're like, let's film here, and let's answer a question, and he has like on like a notepad, and he's reading it, and he answers it in a very articulate way, but then also gives a lot of graphics and stuff. I loved this. I wonder if he's going to do more of them, because I want more of them. And the questions are and the answers he gives are really great, and like not what I normally hear. Like for it's like, oh, I hear animators are paid horribly, and he's like, yeah, when you're starting out, like in-betweeners and primary, or I don't know, particular animators and things like that, there's a certain level where yeah, it does not pay very well. But in my case, I'm a primary animator, and so I get paid salary. So it's not like he's like, I'm not rich, but it pays my bills. And he's like, it's very low cost in Japan, very low living expenses. And he's like very matter of fact about it. I'm like, wow. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I really liked it a lot. Yeah, it was fantastic. You guys should definitely check this out. Oh my god. Lastly, damn it. 3 for 3, baby. Let's go. We get those. Yeah, Hiding in Public. Has anime lost something? I can't even describe to you what this one was. I just liked it a fuck ton, and I'm just like, God, thank God this is being made right now. I don't know. Just it's always just a nice thing to my day, and it's one of those. This was definitely a video of like, God, I don't know. I could. Not that I say like one of your videos that like, oh, I could make that. I don't normally think in those terms. But this was like so experimental, and again in that lane of his romance anime one, where it's a mix of introspection, experimentation, really big thoughts, and then embracing the title that he's talking about without really directly talking about it. In this case, he's kind of embracing the aesthetics and disorientation and pseudo intellectuality almost, not even really, because there is substance in Lane, and there is substance in what he's saying. It's just the presentation of it is very esoteric and hard to describe without like, kind of just, it's like boiling down a piece of art into like, oh, it's a bunch of lines, and you it's like this cool art piece that's like a bunch of scribbled lines, and then it's like, oh, let me explain it for you. And then you just form it into a straight line. It's like, yeah, now I can understand it and comprehend what you're saying, but it's no longer very interesting. I don't want to boil down what Hiding is saying here to that. You know what I mean? It's the method in which he's saying it, and the things that he's showing. And Cal's, I assume it's Cal. I'm pretty sure it's Cal. It might be somebody else, which I apologize. Let me look again. I do this every time. Oh. Yes, it is Cal. God damn it. I'm sorry I don't have confidence in your style anymore, Cal. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Like, every time. It's yeah, but no, it's Cal again. And I love Cal. Oh my God. This is so great. Let's seeing that, because he's able to articulate the things that Hiding is talking about in like a way that's concrete, but also just very artsy and stuff, and cute and fun. While also contrast with the very crazy disorientation oddity that is Lane that Hiding is embracing here. Man, let's fucking go. Like, this is not at all a commentary on Lane. It's really just using Lane as the vehicle to communicate this abstract idea of, if anime's lost something, is like, no, we've lost something in the vastness of whatever. Again, I don't even want to attempt to give you the points of like, oh, I love that thing you said about this thing. I can't. I was so embraced by or embraced isn't really the word, arrested, I guess is the word. Arrested by the means of which you're telling this, and your word choices, and it's so incredible. And I feel like I wouldn't have the confidence to make something like this. I think it was what I was saying earlier, where it's like, I don't really think of myself like I could have made this sort of thing. I think it's just like, it inspired me so much in a way that's like, could I even make this? Like, could I feel like if I tried something along this line, I feel like I would come off as indulgent or up my ass or like like pretentious. I don't know. I just wouldn't feel. I would feel unsafe putting out a video like this. I mean, I guess that lends to itself to a bit of vulnerability because this is something that Hiding does think about and does, is kind of like almost, he's a very thoughtful guy, very emphatic and like interesting, really smart and like cool guy. And so like this is absolutely something he would make, right? And has no qualms about it, especially because, it's a similar thing with the romance anime video and everyone really liked that. So he's like, and I like his part at the end where he's like, I made this because he's like, if you liked how weird this and kind of the cool factor of and Cal's animations and things, thank yourselves. Because I put all that into, I got a huge surge of patrons and things like that. I really liked hearing that commentary at the end of the video. And just him being transparent always about his projects and what he's doing and his plans. I would like to make this amount of money on Patreon so I can do this and this. I just like that a lot. Yeah, dude. Fucking banger. Jesus Christ. Sorry I couldn't get you that footage for Lane. God damn it. I feel bad. I'm 0 for 2 on your request, I feel. So I apologize. But yeah, love the video. Jeez Louise. What? Man. And as also just, it's hard to say, like, I can't say it's the best Lane video I've ever seen because it's not really about Lane. But in terms of like getting exactly what Lane does and like the appeal of Lane and like why it's so cool, this is it. This is exactly why I like this show. Yeah, fantastic. Loved it. Well, that was about an average size digest. All right, I'll take that. And I like that I actually had some fair substantive things to say, I think. That's nice. Anyway, you guys are great. Thank you for watching. You have a great week. I don't think I actually say thank you for watching that often. And I should. I really do. Leave comments, because that motivates me even more, by the way. Just saying. Now I'm guilt tripping the audience. God damn it. I'm awful. You have a good week. Yo, peace.